Commission Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, 7 p.m.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Looking at the agenda, does anybody have any additions or deletions?
I don't have an addition for tonight's agenda, but I would like to add on the next agenda that we look at a budget review, kind of halfway through where we're at, and then also a millage overview. So we've got the 5 dedicated and the 4 dedicated and the 1 extra. I'd like to see all those in the packet next week.
Okay.
It's probably, I gave something to Wendy, a full list of all of them, and I kind of put it together on a spreadsheet, but just so we're clear on what all is coming up and.
Yep. Yeah. So we can look at the next 5 years, and we've
Yeah.
got a couple back to back, so we can come up with the correct strategies.
What would you like to see for the budget? Like this,
It's got kind of a status versus actual. So our budgets, we're supposed to be here, and we're here.
So kind of like we did before, where we're
do it tonight if you want.
That's fine. I mean, I'd like to see it in the packet so I can actually
Okay.
digest some of the numbers.
Okay.
And does that include staffing too?
This is our entire budget.
Okay.
I bring it every month.
Perfect.
I just kind of highlight the things that you can see I got red on it. I didn't stage this. I just in case it ever gets brought up. So,
Anybody else, any
You'll
other
get email
additions or
telling you that.
deletions? Or comments on this? No? Okay. The only other thing I'd like to add is scheduling of a study session also as it relates to the budget and the millage. Does anybody have any objection to adding it to the agenda, or we can just schedule it later after, when we look at our calendars?
However you want to do it.
Preference?
Either way.
Okay, well, we can just schedule it later and then add it to the next agenda of, so add it to the next agenda of study session, additional study sessions. I'd like to keep those going forward so that we can keep progress moving forward.
Yep. No, I agree.
Okay. All right, so motion to approve the agenda as published then.
So
Motion.
moved.
Second?
Sure, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Nobody's here for public comment. Moving on, approval of the minutes of June 11th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have no action items. Discussion items. Police chief interview and exit timeline. So,
So I'm going to go up to the thing and pop that on and we can walk through it. Yeah, I had it on just to make sure that I was good. Oh, no, I'm not using that. I wasn't able to make a copy. Thank you. Can you guys see it on the screen too, or no?
Yes.
Is that better?
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think I sent this to you guys. So if there's any, this is a really rough draft. If there's anything that you want to add or change, the dates are fluid. I think a couple of them I made sure, like board approval, that's an actual board date. Doug's retirement, I'm sorry, Chief Carmack's retirement submission. I think we talked about that. Is that good? Yeah. So if you guys want to kind of peruse through it, if there's anything that you're, thinking we need to insert.
So I was going to say, we've talked about this briefly before. I'd like to actually make this more of a formal going forward, also some type of timeline with not specific dates where we're in this position now, but in the future, so that we have a timeline to work off of, 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, whatever we may be. Hopefully that in the future we have that option of planning ahead. We have not always had that option of planning ahead, but at least we have some type of schedule that we can follow in the future also. Not only with chief positions, but lieutenant position as
Yep.
well, all the way down. Just like we have here, but just setting some different, not date specific, but timeline specific.
Yep, and we can do it, scale it however you guys want to.
Right. As far as what we have here, Margaret, it's great, thank you. Much appreciated.
I tried.
Chief, is there anything from your end, timeline, what you're,
If we can stick to it, only 2 points I'd like to make is, I think the board would want to be included on this, just so they know, because if you're going to hire, depending how what you guys decided, hiring inside, outside, both, however you decide to do it, it could create an opening where we have to start an eligibility list to hire a new employee for a possible shortage of staff.
sure,
So I would like to get approval to do that, to get, to start just opening up for, what do you call it, eligibility list.
right.
That way we can go through that process. We haven't had great luck with getting a lot of applicants, and I'd hate to leave the department short one person again.
Well, and I was gonna say, we've lucked out with the couple applicants that we have gotten to hire.
We've only got the last 2 applicants, we've gotten 1 viable applicant each, the last 2 hirings.
Right.
We've gotten lucky with them, but,
So,
we gotta look at this.
and then so going back, kind of bouncing back to this schedule, when we're posting, if we post, depending on how we post, do we have to get permission from the board to post for funds?
No, Derek has to,
Derek just approves that, because I don't remember, because it was such a chaotic mess before.
no, I believe,
I don't remember, remember how last time the way the process was done, years past was changed the last time. We all remember how wonderful that process was. I just don't know is there a defined process that you guys have to follow, or is there a defined, you hear where I'm going?
I
don't know.
I was gonna compare it to fire, but I probably shouldn't do that because I don't know that that's the same. But if it is, then Derek posted the posting, and it depends on your choice. So we voted on an ordinance that allows us to go completely internal. You can go internal, external, or you could do just external. You can make those choices, and depending on how it goes. So any one of those is an option? based
Yes, I
on-
mean, let's get that question answered. I mean,
Okay.
I'm ready to
And
answer it. We went through the process last time. It was a disaster. We had a
Right.
lot of, internal strife that it caused within the department.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of candidates that applied outside that frankly said, what in the world are you guys doing going outside? Right? So I'm ready to say I absolutely 100% want to go internal.
Okay,
And I don't know if we want to make that decision now, if we want to add it to an action item, but I want to make that decision. I don't want any questions on this.
and I'm okay. If that's what you guys want to do, I'll sit back down.
Well, and I'm okay with that. Do we need to then add that as an action item?
I think Derek is the one, because he's my boss, he's the one that would be hiring me technically, right? And then
Yes,
you guys are
yeah.
facilitating the need to do the hiring, right? That's how it works?
Right.
So I think Derek has to be part of that.
But it's up to the commission to
Right.
decide.
The process.
So
Yeah.
then, so then let's add an action item tonight that we make a recommendation to Derek and, that we
Mhm.
would, we plan on hiring internal.
Right.
And, we'd appreciate him being part of the process.
And the other thing that we could do, and I wouldn't suggest it tonight, is that I did get a post, I do have a posting, and I did modify it, and we could review that and, have Derek determine if, he's aligned with it, and then that would be checked off the box of that, that we have a posting prepared.
Okay, well, why don't we have one of us talk with Derek in between now and the next meeting and put that as an action item in the next meeting?
For
Okay.
August.
That's right, yeah.
And as far as if we do go internal, that'll create a shortage in the staff, right?
And that'll allow all the planning.
I think Derek just in the past has said he has the authority to authorize establishing an eligibility list because no action will take place until the board approves it. So you can start a hiring process on that. But I always ask Derek if he's fine with that. I believe he just wants to know what direction we're going to trigger that mechanism.
Yep, well, let's
I don't
have
wanna
the
speak for
discussion.
him, but
Yep,
okay.
let's have the discussion with him. I mean, unless we're gonna take a vote right now that's our recommendation or is consensus, that's consensus, so we can talk to Derek now and then come back the next meeting with the actual vote.
I think there's a consensus to talk to Derek now, what we need to do and vote next meeting.
Okay,
I'm good with it.
and then that, Margaret, your last question, number 15 there, I think that would answer that question as
Yeah.
well.
And then, so with that chief job, with the chief position, the recommendation for chief, then we also have the deputy chief and lieutenant, which we had this issue before where we were technically only interviewing for chief because we didn't post for chief, deputy chief, and lieutenant.
And then you had to redo.
And we had to do, well, yes and no. Again, it was chaotic. We ended up we didn't have to redo it per se, but
In the years past, I know the board has the ultimate selection process.
Sure.
And that was part of the whole games that were being played there. But you guys interview, however you guys decide, you have that in 6710, you have the ability to set up the structure and how
Right.
it works out. You interview, you make your recommendations. You can also, would you interview the same applicants again for the different positions depending where you draw from? Or you already interviewed them once and you know what you guys are going to get and you can make your selections. That's kind of what they did in the past, I think, a couple times.
Yeah, and I think depending on how that posting answers, right, so the posting's got an opening and a closing, right, and we'll know who's applied at that point in time, and then we can make that decision.
Right.
So that the posting, I think, at the latest, we want it September 1st.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
And then I have it closing, so it would open on the 1st. It doesn't have to end on the 1st of October. That's just what I have. So if we want it to end quicker, that's perfectly fine too.
I've spoken to MERS and the township. They've both said that I'm good to leave on my date, and I am. I have it documented. I just don't know if I can apply 4 months early, but that's my intention. I came up with the September 1st date. That was mine, but that's my intention. So
Yeah, it's a stated intention. Obviously, it'd be helpful if there's something in writing so we
I
can
just don't
kick
know
off
if
the
MERS will
process,
take it 4 months early, but
No, but just so that we can start the process.
Yep.
Right.
I'm good. I think that's great. Let's get it over.
so do we need direction from Derek then about posting, in theory, a position or two will open up all the way down the chain,
Well,
right? It could be a chain reaction, it could be.
we
sorry,
can
hang
ask
on
him
one,
how
sorry,
he,
my
yeah,
phone is-
how
what
he
is this
wants to
thing doing?
handle them. A singular posting is for one position, would be my understanding. And then you would have postings for the other positions if you felt,
Yeah, and I think that depending, if all positions post for the first one, then yeah, we're gonna have to, punt, and if it's just one or two, then that changes,
Right.
how many we open.
right.
But I think your timeline here allows us time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for I asked by December 1st to have someone kind of officially named by the board, is that train my replacement, depending on how it goes within the building, they will have to be trained too. And it's
Right.
just, so there's it
And
can
whoever-
cause we're trying to delay or alleviate a confusion within the building.
Yeah, and then whoever
Right.
backfills to
Wherever
start the
it-
chain
wherever it
is gonna
goes,
be a
right.
whole nother training as
Right.
well, right?
That's why I went December 1st. That was the thought process behind that, knowing I'm leaving could cause, depending where the position is drawn from. You have sergeants could possibly putting it for lieutenant, depending how it all goes, and then hiring a person. So think about what all those movements that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, this is what we've been planning for, right?
Yep.
We've done the training, we've done the succession planning, right? We've done staff and command, right?
We have
We're
very
set up
good
for
applicants.
this. We just need to follow through.
Margaret, that board approval for November 10th, that's an actual board meeting on the books right now, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay. I just wanted to double check.
That's just to coincide with the preference of, you know, if we're shooting for December, that's our only option because that's the only one in November.
And that's if the board will allow, if the board feels comfortable to make that decision 6 weeks before I leave, you know. But I would hope they do that. They seem to be very positive and open to it. They understand what we're doing. It's not a game. It's just to try to make it best for us.
Yeah, and I think this plan that you put together works perfect, where we'll help with, and it will help enable that process.
So I don't know if you guys want to talk about this, but
I got comments, but.
let's say that, oh, I'm sorry.
I just, number one, I like the idea that you're just saying we're going to go internal, because I've seen things so many times. We cast this broad net and the best candidates in front of us. So I'm glad it's cutting through that. And now you're saying we're going internal, and because we're going to be going internal, that's going to open up all these other spots and movement throughout the department. So that's makes me very happy to see that there's some planning on this, and I'm really happy to see that there's going to be some time that the new named chief will be with the old chief to get training. So there's not like a vacuum and things that need to be done and stuff like that. So this is a really well thought out plan to do something like this. And as the chief said, it'd be nice to, or as I think Scott said, to do, you know, in the future, 30-day, 45-day, 60-day or something like that. And that would be a good policy to follow for the future, so nobody has these questions, that it's written down somewhere. Because I do remember reading all the Facebook posts about last time around on this, so I know it was sort of ugly. So don't know,
I mean,
not sure who all the players were exactly, but I read all the postings that weren't very nice.
Yeah, and I mean, just to put some icing on the cake, right? I mean, I had the pleasure of interviewing actually both of you gentlemen, right? And I know we've got a perfect succession plan already in place. So I'm super confident with who we have, the talent we have internal. So I don't see there's any reason for us to go outside.
The only question I had was, you know, to the chief's point, if you have to keep moving people, how, like, what level do you allow to post for, let's say, lieutenant or deputy chief? So can you be an officer and you can post, or is there a, you know,
Eligibility requirement.
eligibility
Yeah,
requirement?
no, I think that's a great question. I think that's a good question for Derek as well, right? So he's the head HR person, and I think
I mean,
maybe between Doug and Derek, you guys can help figure that out.
Who in the department's available to apply for certain positions?
Mm-hmm.
When we went through this before, everybody was acting. I think I was the only sergeant in the building. It was kind of by design, the way that was set up. We don't have that anymore. We have 3 capable, good sergeants.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lieutenant and deputy chief, all have a lot of experience, a lot of training. They've all been given all the education that wasn't afforded to other people before. It's all been given out. So we have, like he's saying, we have trained internal candidates that have been doing the job on the ground for years
Okay.
versus the way we kind of took over during COVID. So it's a different story. We don't have that anymore. So I think we have 3 sergeants that, you know, for lieutenant position. That's traditionally how they've done it. But that's up to you guys, how you guys want to do it.
Okay.
If it goes that way, depending how it works out, right? I don't want to
Yeah,
forecast
no, I
anything.
just didn't know if there was a requirement, so we can talk about that.
There's been nothing set on paper since I've been here.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was or not.
Okay. Anything else? No? All right. Anything
So
else?
do you guys,
So I guess whose job is to talk to Derek?
I can talk to him, but I don't know, Scott, is that something you want to do, have that conversation?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I will do that in the next couple days. Talk to him, we'll figure it out quickly.
So that'll be an action item next meeting, is to post internal?
Well, it's whether to post internal or not.
Okay.
So we'll have make it an action item discussion, and
So we're good, we don't have an action item right now, right? We didn't add anything?
Not today,
We're going to
correct.
do the next one, okay.
all right, then moving on, if nothing else on this issue, okay. So then Planning Commission approved the master plan, or they did not approve it. They did approve it.
Planning approved.
Planning approved it.
But the
board tabled it.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess that master plan, we're kind of looking at you on that one. to start, but what, what thoughts on the effects on the PD? I know I have my thoughts, and I know Margaret has hers also.
Yeah, I mean, there's
And
not, there's some changes that would be started to be looked at with the new master plan. So for one of them, the R1E overlay would be on the target list to modify, and that's really been one of the big, I don't know what the right word is, right? But it has very large lots and very large houses, right? But as far as everything else, we already have provisions for almost everything else that would be in any other master plan. PUDs, things like that. So those are the big ticket items that would, drive a lot of development. And for the most part, our ordinances already allow, with some restrictions, those. So the master plan, as it currently stands, I don't think modifies that a great bit. I mean, we've already got that protection in place. We've already got those options in place for developers.
Okay.
So as of right now, I don't see a major impact on the PD.
Okay.
So what you explained is the way I read the plan, and I believe there's some confusion on what it is and how it goes. It seems to be getting treated like a wish list for some people. And that was my big concern when you have certain groups saying, I would like this and I would like that and I want to rezone for this and that. And when you do those things, the big gap in understanding seemed to be, so for instance, if I want a large senior housing facility, what comes along for the ride with that? How do you support that with our current staffing levels? How does fire support that with their staffing levels? How does wastewater treatment support that? So those are the things that concern me.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, we've got one on Macomb, right? And that goes through, as it's in the ordinance right now, we go through a site plan review, and a sketch plan review, and a special land use approval. And through all of those steps are public process steps and also require input from, engineering, police, fire, everything else, DPS or DPW, to make sure that we've got all the facilities depending on the size of what's in there. So that the process for that already exists. It's already in there. So that would be, I don't think the master plan really shouldn't change that process. And right now it's not intended to change that process.
Your version of the master plan doesn't, but the one that's kind of been presented.
Well, there's zoning ordinances, right?
No,
that are
but I mean, I think people are
statewide.
treating it like it's a wish list, like I want this and I want that, and I think that's the confusion. And even if, let's pretend it was that, there has to be a step function of these priorities have to be met before you can.
That's
have
right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, even if the master plan says, okay, it's not going to say I want a certain facility in a certain
Right.
area, but it says, okay, we want more of these facilities.
Right.
Well, the zoning ordinance still has to either allow it or be changed to allow it. And when that zoning ordinance change happens, then that's really when, if it happens, that's really when the input comes into play.
So
And then,
those
or if it's
step-
already allowed in that particular district, then the site plan approval process already handles that, right? So if it's a special land use, then there's a whole process where the developer, the architect, whatever, have to come in with their plans, explain, how many units there's going to be, how big it's going to be, how many people it's going to be, how much parking you need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So zoning and ordinances all take care of that first, those steps first.
That's correct.
Right, okay.
That's correct. And the master plan is something that says, okay, maybe we want to start looking at ordinances to be changed that way or not. Whether it's in the master plan or not, you can always still appeal to change.
Right, because
zoning and
the master
ordinances.
plan is just a guide.
That's right.
It's not set in stone.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So, I guess my concern is that the master plan's always been there. What does it do for additional housing, and what does it create for additional potential residences on the island?
Nothing until there's action taken to either change the zoning ordinances or not, right? I mean, just like any big tract of land right now, regardless of the master tract plan says, right, a developer could say, hey, I want to do this with this piece of land. And then if it fits within the zoning ordinances, it has a easy time to fly. If it doesn't, then it would have to go through and I say, hey, I need to change these zoning ordinances, for example.
And just my understanding, realistically, this all came about because of the school, right? For the,
No, so the master plan is something that by law, every community, township, city, whatever, has to have a master plan.
well, I know that, I'm saying, but the actual land that's becoming actually available is gonna be,
That's a portion of land, but there are certainly many other portions of land that are privately held that are large, right? So that's one, that, yeah, I mean, that whole corridor here, there's another corridor on the other side of Grow. Middle of the island, there's several large tracts of property, so that's,
okay.
yeah. And right now, if I remember correctly, and I shouldn't state this, but there is an underlying zoning for the school. It's not just only a school, right? So it's R1 or R3C, whatever it is. It's already a residentially zoned area. So without any changes, regardless what the master plan says or doesn't say right now, it's allowed to be developed in a certain way
Because it's already zoned.
because it's already zoned for that.
Okay. All right.
That covers it.
Mark, anything?
Right?
Okay. All right, moving on. Monthly reports, Deputy Chief.
Thank you. Good evening. The report for June 2025, calls for service, 499 total calls for service. We had 858 calls to dispatch.
Is your mic on?
It is now. Is that better?
It is.
Perfect.
All right, I'll start over again. The monthly report for June of '25, calls for service, we had 499 total calls, 858 incoming calls to dispatch, and 126 911 calls. We had 93 traffic stops for the month. 9 citations were issued, including a parking violation, 17 notices to appear, 74 verbal warnings, 13 security notices, 15 welfare checks, 1 home invasion, and 1 boating accident. I'm going to touch on the home invasion because that seemed to spark a little bit of more than interest, but that wasn't put in there. It actually happened. It wasn't to incite panic or worry. It is under investigation. The DB is looking at it now. It does look like it's somebody that one of the residents that lived at that dwelling knew. But it was still a home invasion. It wasn't a forced entry. And that's where we're at. That's all I can really tell or talk about, but that's where we're at with it.
So not forced entry, but was home invasion.
Home invasion, correct.
So, I see that a lot in my career where, ex-boyfriend or girlfriend goes to a home which they don't live at and they enter unlawfully and it's a home invasion. It's
Correct.
So,
So if that hopefully that explains it a little bit better. I know that when we put this blotter out monthly, it doesn't have a lot of detail, and people are like, oh my gosh, what happened? Isolated incident, that's the gist of what had happened, and that's kind of where, that's where we're at.
okay.
For the month, 22 reports, 23 FOIA requests, 5 general accidents, 3 car deer. Eric, I know that you were asking where were we at last year. I'd have to research that. I think we're about in the ballpark for car deer accidents right now compared to last year. I have, I'm assuming everybody's been seeing more activity with the deer. Have you been seeing more?
A lot.
Okay. I know I'm not on the road as much. Actually, none of us are, being administration, but I have been hearing that we've been seeing the population, or it seems like the population's increasing.
I've seen quite a few fawns. Unfortunately, the fawns aren't trained yet to look both ways before they cross. They just tend to run. So, we've got to work on our education for our deer a little better. But no, actually, quite a bit, especially on my end, through, just going from east to west across Grow, quite a bit more of crossings, more than the norm. And then through like Albemarle Boat Club, the bridge there, quite a few. I was just running down the road, down the bridge, and they get spooked because you'll get cars coming from both ways. A lot more recently than last year.
We are looking into it, so we'll address that when the time comes. The Detective Bureau, we had 26, or they had 26 cases assigned, 21 were closed, 5 are active investigations. Animal Control, 46 calls for her, and of course, on top of that, she's also ordinance, so she's a very, very busy lady. The training for the month, I'm just gonna hit on some of the highlights. Taser 10, we're gonna be implementing the new taser. Myself, Lieutenant Counts, Officer Benson and Canterbury all took the instructor class. They came in-house. So we're all instructors. It was more for administrative for myself and Lieutenant Counts to know how the process works, the training, how we keep records. Everything's inventoried now, and it's actually quite impressive how it works. Axon, they have barcodes on everything. We scan it, you assign it to an officer, it assigns the taser, the cartridge, and all of the cartridges, and it's really it helps us as far as inventory and keeping track of everything. We can also instruct as well, but that's mainly for Officer Benson and Officer Canterbury. Crisis negotiation, that's Dino, or Detective Sacanteras. He had his training for the month. SWAT had their training. Dive team, which is me, we had our training. FTO update, Sergeant Carrico training consists of reviewing strategies to maximize the effectiveness for teaching and training employees. Hazmat first responder, Doug, or the chief had taken that. MCOL's firearms training, everybody did their qualification. And officer liability, that was ACO Cortis that did that. The reserve report, 43 hours were worked by the reserves. The June events consisted of Parkland Elementary and Meridian Elementary, the fun run, I think we talked about that last month. June 27th, officers worked, again, vacation checks. June 28th, the fireworks and the Trenton Channel Reserve officers assisted the midnight shift with extra patrols on West River. They said the crowd was actually a little bit less this year, which surprised us. Usually that's a pretty big draw. West River's usually packed. And then July 11th, our reserves were asked to go work the Uncle Sam Jam. Reserve unit was requested by Woodhaven administration to assist with crowd control and traffic safety. It's the same thing we asked for their reserves to come over and assist us with Island Fest. And that is all I have for June of 2025. Are there any questions regarding any of that information?
Questions?
No.
No? All right.
I have a question, but it wasn't June. The school vandalism, that was July, right?
Which one?
Was there more than one?
No, I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the school vandalism, the field, yeah.
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 We had two,
The press
there were
box,
two of
okay,
them.
okay.
The press box, and then we had the benches that were thrown out in the midfield.
I know a lot of people were asking if there are, and not saying you guys have them. Did the school ever install any sort of cameras, or did they?
That is something that we have nothing to do with on school.
No, and I know
They're
you
in the
guys don't.
process. That's part of the bill. They're in the process.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
And that's something they would handle though, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
That's under their camera system.
Okay.
Yeah.
People have been asking, so I was just curious.
Anything
Real
else?
quick, the one with the field, that was literally just the benches were thrown into the field, right? Nothing was really destroyed?
No,
Just-
it's just, I mean, you know what, I don't know much about the field and the turf and what you can do to that. I'm sure it's pretty durable, but I mean, you start throwing things around out there, you damage it. I don't know what it would cost to repair it if you tear it,
Sure.
you know. But there was no actual reported damage except the movement and those items being thrown out on the midfield.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else? All right. Moving on with the department updates.
just got a couple things. Good evening.
Chief, hello.
Hello. So I'll give you the department update for the new hire we're working on. So the deputy chief and one of the detectives conducted home interviews, so pretty much ended that, wrapped that all up. So we're gonna try to put an action item for the next board meeting to hire, but the date will be down the road because he already has pre-engagements that he already has a vacation set up at his current job. And so that would be, we're just gonna try to accommodate before the start. So, that we're hoping to have him on board if the board approves it at the, starting at the end of August.
Okay.
Questions on that?
No,
That makes sense what I was saying?
yeah, that'll take our numbers to 20, how many actually on the road, not counting our,
23 officers total, and on the road that'll put us at 16 sworn.
right.
Sworn, because us three are sworn, but we're more an administrative role, but due to the, everybody's back from all the medicals, we still have one on workers' comp, and we'll see if that one comes, if that individual, when he's ready, comes back, and then that'll put us at 23.
Okay.
16 on the road, sworn, that we're able to, we're working on the road a lot, the three of us are, so it'll probably relieve us to do more administrative stuff.
Okay.
That answer what you're looking for?
Yes, thank you.
The generator project that you've been hearing us talk about, so myself and the fire chief have met with a lot of contractors, a lot of them going from solar to different types of options, and through my deals, we found a generator, that company that now we're going to pass it on to our two liaisons for the fire and police, and the engineering firm for the township is going to look over the bids. It's not a bid, the quote, because it's a my deal, so it's a non-bid. It's a state bid program. And then if they like it all, then we're going to push the engineering fee to the board to have them approve it, and then that'll launch in the generator from that point on.
We know
But-
what kind of actual brand of generator they're.
Cummins.
Cummins.
I believe it's a Cummins generator, 80 kilowatt. We're just going to swap 80 for 80.
Okay.
We've had numerous electrical companies coming in, went through all of our panels and our wiring and gas lines and everything. It's a natural gas generator. They'll have to do some, I think the one switch, they'll do some changes, updates. It's the same stuff since the early 90s. Some updates that's included in this. And then they'll send it to the board and they'll approve it.
Still housed inside.
The exact same way it is right now. We looked at outside putting it, what kind of damage or what's the years of service outside versus inside versus different type. The solar one, we looked into that a lot because we had a board member ask about that. We want to make sure we looked into every option possible. And we think this option is the best way. It actually came out cheaper too. Cheaper doesn't mean better, but Cummins is a good brand and it's a good generator. And then our engineers are going to look through the quote and see if it's done properly. So, we had to decommission one of our police cars, 16.2, our last Charger. Had a mess of electrical issues in front end suspension, and we couldn't get the doors unlocked on it no matter how we tried. So we eventually got them open, but it's got 100,000 miles on it and several $1,000s in electrical repair. So the township board approved last night to decommission it.
Very good.
We're not going to get a replacement until the next administration could buy that next car.
Okay.
That's, I'm kind of leaving that. And then
Do we need we don't actually need a replacement right now necessarily, do we?
you do. Like during certain events, like when we have 2 cars down right now today that are down, so your fleet shrinks. And if we have an event like a festival or parade, now we're piling people in the cars, which is fine, but we have a small fleet of cruisers,
Right.
patrol cars. So
Well, and I was thinking with the officer that's off, it's less, because our guys are actually working more, so it's less rotation through the vehicles right now, right? So
correct. It's about, I mean, no matter how you do it, the 12s and 8s and shifts and stuff like that, it's still 24 hours of coverage and 24 hours of driving cars. And the wear and tear is on the officers. We have fewer to draw from. And when that's why we were working the road, just to kind of give some relief
Okay.
to them, because they were getting forced in a lot of overtime, and then when the bridge closed, that's why we worked the intersection, because we're ordering midnights to hold over, and then we're having them come in early, 5 days a week. Then we got down to 2 days a week, and you saw how it all played out. We just, Deputy Chief and I just said, we'll just do it.
And right now, we're at 21 until we get the new hire with the
Right.
guy off. We're at 22.
We're at 22.
With the guy off.
We're at 21 people that in the department, one off, so we're at 22, and the new hire comes on 23. We're supposed to be at 24, but we don't have the funding. That's the whole millage thing. We are
Right.
greatly underfunded to supply the department. So the generator will be covered under the cell tower fund, and that should wipe it out. We're pretty close to it. Get rid of that. They should wipe out those funds, maybe a little bit left over. But we're trying to talk, the fire chief and I are talking about some different ideas on how to save some of the money, so.
Okay.
And then the last thing, just a quick, this isn't my briefing, but we're at 3 months and 2 weeks into our budget. So we're at 29% if you do kind of the math on that, and that's exactly where we're at on the budget. 29% used, so we're right on track. But when you drop your, at the end of the year, we have some bigger payments that come out like the last month.
Which happen every year, no
Happens
matter what.
this is the way it is. Like the boat line item is pretty high right now, so it's like 60% because we're spending all that money in our boat window. And then at the end of summer, we won't spend any more. So and then they'll do the cleanup and winterizing, and then it's over with. So you'll see, that's why you see these numbers kind of go.
Yeah.
But we're right on track. We're doing pretty good, so.
Where are we at with the overtime?
Overtime's not bad. I think a lot of it is scheduling by the deputy chief. And then scheduling us on the road helped out a lot, but we also budgeted for a lot higher overtime this year than we do in the years past, a lot more. We're at 23%, so we're below that 29%, but we anticipated a lot more. You guys, we're down 5, all that stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
so.
your budget's due in March, right, or it starts in March, and
Yeah, April
that's when you
Fool's
knew
Day.
you had a lot of issues this summer.
Yeah, all those predictions did fall through, like they actually took place. But we're okay right now. It's just you saw a couple of guys walking in on the way down here for the midnight guys. They're tired, working a lot of those shifts, so that's just everybody.
Can we have you guys highlight too when the three of you are taking shifts so that we're clear on?
We're not.
who's-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, who's doing what?
We're not taking like full, like we're in the rotation.
No, I know.
But there's times where Deputy Chief will say, like, I think he's got one this Thursday. He's working an 8-hour block on the road to do road backup, so our DB's short, so the detective bureau can have 2 people to accomplish what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll cover for the road, cover for the detective bureau, so they can actually do their job. Because we don't have enough. We're having to have a DB person on the road because we're short. And then been a couple times where ordering the same people in over and over again on different shifts. We just picked up the shifts from here and there just to kind of give them a break for night.
Right.
I'm not saying we're heroes or nothing like that, but the road officers know that we're not trying to take overtime. We don't want to come in on midnights, but we'll take blocks of
Right,
it.
and I'm
We're not
sure they
working a full
understand that.
rotation of shifts. We're not, but we have done more
I-
than our 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week. We've done that quite a few times.
I want to be sure that the board starts grasping the concept.
I think people don't think that we were serious when we were saying that stuff. And everything that we said about the shortages, the staffing issues, us working the road, absolutely took place.
Well, you and I have talked about it. I'm very much struggling with trying to get people to understand that this is not normal. This has not been done before. This is not done outside of Groseal. You do not see command staff going on shift patrol.
I'm not trying, the deputy chief and I both got an arrest on the same shift at 2 hours apart. So,
I'm not, it's just classic.
no, we both got, we take care of business.
Well done, both
The
of
whole
you.
department is chipping in, from the dispatchers to the patrol
Right.
officers. They're all chipping, the DB, the records, they're all chipping in to get all this stuff done. Come in, last weekend we had 4 or 5 people come in on their day off to help us with some stuff we're trying to take care
Right.
of. And everybody's chipping in, and it's been great, but wear and tear.
It is. It's a lot of wear and tear, and that's what I think seems to be discounted, and that's what bothers me. So,
We have good sergeants that are running the platoons, and that kind of helps out keeping everybody in cohesive mode. And we haven't had 3 sergeants in a long time. than we've had for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think residents are very lucky. I think this board has been very lucky that you guys have, your staffing is tops.
And when, I know we all like to say good things about the PD, and we're talking about hiring for my position, we really do have good applicants in the department. We've taken several years to look at deficiencies at personnel, where they're gonna possibly go, and not singling people out, doing a broad cover to give us more applicants, more for broader base. And we've sent all these individuals to classes that I never went to, that I never had an opportunity to go to. We didn't hold them back, we sent them to it. And
No, and that
we have
speaks
a lot
volumes.
of people, hopefully that continues, the education stuff, but we have people that are working in the jobs, life experience, true experience, and they're educated, and education's a big part of it, because if you go to these trainings, you're not just getting a certificate, you're learning how to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making sure that we have people like the sergeants now are trying to learn, we're trying to get them towards management classes for their future. So we have a good program set up right now for development, going back to what Mr. Ranko was saying.
No, and again, it speaks volumes for the leadership, so I think you guys are doing a fabulous job.
That's all I got.
Absolutely.
He also didn't speak to the shifts that were not even on the schedule during the bridge closures, that from 5:30 in the morning to almost 11 in the morning, the chief and deputy chief and sergeants were popping in to do bridge control, traffic control also. So that's on top of the shortages and shifts that they were out there doing this.
I think it's important, that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
that we have this all documented. I'm not, and I appreciate that you're pointing that out, because those are the things that I really, I don't know how you feel about it, but they have to be documented, they have to be available, you know, there has to be receipts for everything. I don't know how to get this through to people that, not just you three, but everybody is working above and beyond, but you guys are doing you're doing your job, and then you're doing even more.
In reference, thank you, Wendy, for the bridge stuff. Deputy Chief and I were cheap, we're salary, so we just ate the hours.
I
But
understand.
Riverview chipped in and took 2 of those days in the evenings, and they took the morning shift on their side, which absolutely saved us. We were trying to do it from both sides with our small department. And then the Wayne County Sheriffs, they were reserves. They helped out. They were there. But Riverview was basically kept. I appreciate what the chief offered up for us, and it really it saved us, because we were trying to do everything with our small department. We're understaffed at the same time. It was kind of a bad situation.
Yeah, no,
But it worked
Riverview-
out. We're not victims. We're here to do our job and do our
I'm
thing.
not, I don't think you are. I just think that a lot of this goes assumed or unnoticed, and I don't think that's appropriate. At least I don't. I know you guys don't want to highlight it. I do. And I don't care if I sound like a broken record about it. I think this is something we're missing, that people are just assuming that, you know, everything's good because we're doing well, and we're doing well because people are doing more than above and beyond work. That's all I'm saying. So I think it's good to have it known, clearly known.
We're going to have to make a decision as a community, as a police department, as a commission about our funding.
I agree.
And the way that last millage was put forth, I'm not kind of politics, but you know that we weren't part of that. The police commission was not part of it. It was endorsed, and it was endorsed by us. That can't happen again. It can't be. It's got to be a legitimate funding mechanism that the people who write it understand it. The way that was written before was not understood. So, and it's got to be a good campaign for the public to let them know what they're buying. It's got to be information. So,
Totally agree.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Liaison report.
So I don't have a whole lot to report other than I did, Chief Carmack mentioned it. I know there were a lot of people in doing some extra housekeeping work on their day off on Sunday, and I appreciate everything that everybody does. And again, I don't think people fully realize how much that our police department does because things go smoothly. So they don't, you know, the bladder has been getting out. It's been doing what it's supposed to do. And that's appreciated, Deputy Chief. You know, I want to say all of your social media posts are fabulous. You're doing a great job. I know Wendy assists you. You two are fabulous, and I mean that sincerely. I think it's such a nice thing to keep people engaged and people, you know, paying attention to the page because, you know, while your bladder is going out and you're getting those comments, that's a good thing. People need to know what's going on, that, you know, Groseal PD is paying attention, that everybody's out there keeping them as safe as possible. So I appreciate that. And the other thing was to the Riverview Police Department, we appreciate your support. I think they did a great job. It was so hot out some of those days, just not the best weather, you guys too. So it's all appreciated.
Wendy contributes heavily to the Facebook page too.
I
so-
said that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's one.
That's okay.
Give her props.
I give props to both, I know. They're creative, so creative. Yep, they're both. Well, I know a 20-year-old who thinks your stuff's kind of cool, so you're hitting your target there.
If we may talk about that, we took it from 700 followers or whatever the term is, and I think we're over 4,000 now.
4,100.
Over about 900.
Yep, see?
So Deputy Chief's got a social media empire.
He does.
He's an influencer. And
He's
so-
an influencer,
Yes, that's right.
absolutely.
They weren't supposed to know it was, we were supposed to have anonymity in that.
Well,
Well, I mean, maybe now's a quick time to remind on why you do that, right? So it's another avenue you've got that if you need an immediate communication, it's out there, right?
Like with the schools, we had that bench that was thrown out there. That's happened twice, and the vandalism, he put a community alert on that. And that's what that's for. People see it, and it developed a lot of conversation between people online about who's doing this, and that was the purpose of that post. And then it keeps their interest in there, what you're saying about, and some of the stuff's kind of neat, some of the animal stuff that's just interesting.
Right.
Things you see out here, you kind of live out here and you forget what's really going on. You know, the speed bumps, stuff like that. You know.
the ones you don't have to stop for, but some people do. You can just slow down. They're not going to hurt you. I'm just saying.
I won't go off on my speed
Your
bump
rant? Okay. Well, that's why I said it. I'm trying to be kind about it. You don't have to stop. You can just slow down. It's not gonna, you know. That's all good.
So, any other comments, questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the monthly reports?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned.